So, the man you're about to hear speak tonight startup, help bring it to significant value, multiple millions of dollars. And now, after that journey, which you'll hear about, he is, anybody heard of the Booth Business School, Chicago, University of Chicago? That's where he's studying now, doing his MBA, right? And now he is a columnist and does articles for magazines like Inc. Magazine, Forbes, interviewed by CNN, lots of media. Why? Because he's decided not to let his youth get in the way of where he wants to go professionally. And he's going to teach you some of the secrets of doing the exact same thing tonight. And if you do what he says, not just make a note and say, oh, I've decided to do it. But if tomorrow you go out and actually do what he says, it'll transform your life. I promise you. I promise it will transform your life.
Hey. Thank you. All right. Go for it. So, Professor, thank you so much for the generous introduction. Obviously, not a lot of pressure here after that. So, okay. So, I just kind of want to get to know everyone a little bit here. Who wants to start a business after they graduate from Cal State Fullerton? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 people. Okay. So let me ask that gentleman. Like, what do you want to do?
Probably not right after graduation, but maybe like in a few years when I'm ready without enough capital, I might start doing something.
Okay, so you haven't formed an idea yet, but you want to start a business someday? Yeah. Okay, cool. Who knows what they want to do after they graduate from school? Kind of? You? Not sure, maybe, kind of. Getting there? Over there. What do you want to do?
Me?
Yeah.
Work for a public accounting firm.
Okay, is that your dream job?
Dream job?
Mm-hmm.
Not at all.
No, it's a nice little safety net? Okay, cool. Well, I mean, we all need to start somewhere, right? Okay, so I've been fortunate enough to be an entrepreneur. I also have corporate experience. And I realized there's just one skill that you really need to become successful. Just one single skill. And I'm going to teach you guys a secret in just a second. But it's really interesting because if you just have this entrepreneurial mindset, whether you're trying to break into an industry, try to land your dream job, or even start a business, it's just this one particular skill that you need. So we're going to jump into that in just a second. Do I need a clicker for this? Or? Okay. But if you really want to know, buy my book. But today, since we only have a couple hours, I'm going to share with you guys a few stories. So before we jump in, I'm going to share with you guys a little bit about myself. Cool. So I guess that's me. So when I first started my career, I guess it started when I was 18. I moved from Korea at the age of 16, and that was after I briefly lived in Minnesota. So I know it's really difficult to imagine, but at that time, my English was really choppy. Like I had this really funny Minnesota fob, like Korean fob accent thing going on. And I'm not sure if you guys noticed, but I'm like really dark-skinned for Korean. So everyone was like, dude, where are you from? You don't really like look like you're Korean. So I had a lot of trouble just blending in with everyone. But what was interesting was that when I went to college, and the college I went to was UC Riverside, I didn't have a lot of interest in school. My parents wanted me to become a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant. And I'm like, Mom, Dad, I mean, I know you guys want an American education, but I wanted to pursue the American dream. And to me, those were two different things. My dad had a PhD. He went to a really good school in the States as well as Korea. And I really didn't want to follow that path. So at 18, I dropped out of college for a brief moment, joined a network marketing business. Are you guys familiar with network marketing by any chance? Amway? No? Okay, so it's a really funny business where you sign up your friend, and your friend has to pay $400 to join your business, and they sell products, and then they have to recruit more people. So it's a sales business, but it's not really a sustainable sales model. Yes? Yes. So I guess like the unofficial name is a pyramid scheme, but the official name is called network marketing. So it turned out I was really good at it because I think it was because I moved so much back and forth between Minnesota and Korea as a kid. I knew I had a disadvantage speaking English, but I was like, screw it, I'm just going to own it, right? Whether my English is broken or choppy or whatever, I'm just going to stand up straight and just explain the product. Quite quickly, I was starting to make about $10,000 a month, so I decided to just drop out of college. So that was my first experience, I guess, kind of as an entrepreneur. My second experience was I tried to launch a hedge fund when I was 23. And this was really interesting because after I went back to school, and I went back to school because my parents really wanted to finish college because my parents and I have this relationship where they wanted me to, where they came from Korea for me to get an American education, and I really didn't want to do that. So I thought, okay, that's the least I could do. So when I went back to school, I got really into poker, and I guess it was because I was good at sales. I was playing tournaments, made a couple $1,000s. Then I started playing high stakes, lost it all one night. Really sucked. And then I realized, well, if I'm good at poker, I should, in theory, be really good at trading in the stock market. So I finally started to study like my 4th year in college. Like I never really had more A's and B's in my whole entire life, now that I think about it. But for the first time, my GPA was above a 3.5. So I had a 3.61 quarter. I'm like, wow, this is great. I know something now. And then the next quarter, I think I got a 3.7. And then I made it to the chancellor's list because it was above a 3.5 the whole entire year. And when I realized I actually could build a future upon what I was learning at school, I was able to, I'll get to this story in a second, but I was able to land a job at Merrill Lynch, and then that segued into becoming a trader for E-Trade Financial, and this was during the Great Recession. So I was able to convince one of my clients to launch a hedge fund. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, and it failed miserably. So we'll get to that in a second, too. And my third story was after my hedge fund actually had failed, I decided to move back to California, and I started trading in my personal account, lived with mom and dad. It was kind of humiliating because I talked really big. I said I was going to become this trader in New York. Didn't work out. I came back like a dog with his tail between his legs. And I saved enough money to launch a company called Dealflicks, and we raised about $4.5 million. We got up to a $15 million valuation. And again, I was able to do this with just one particular skill. And this is kind of interesting. At the age of 31, after building the company to a multi-million-dollar valuation, I was actually ousted from my own company. And this was actually a really fascinating experience because by the time I was 31, I actually built such a strong brand that when I was ousted by my company, I was recruited by multiple firms to run their companies. So I was fortunate enough to land a job as the chief sales officer for a subsidiary of a publicly traded company. So I ended up overseeing 40 people, and it was for a company called the Vista Group. They were the largest point-of-sale provider for movie theaters in the movie industry. So it was a very fascinating turnaround, how my brand was able to build off of this one particular skill. And at 33, I pretty much survived everything to tell the tale. And I decided to write a book. And this was actually something that I've always wanted to do. I've always wanted to write a book. But getting fired from your own startup is really tough. Like, in my case, I put my blood, sweat, and tears to it for about 4 or 5 years. It was very tough to really get it to that valuation. And instead of being disappointed about what had happened, what I decided to do was channel that energy, and I wanted to help others who had kind of a similar background, such as myself. And going back to when I first moved back to the States, I actually started a journal back then. And I knew at that time, if I wanted to become really successful in America, I really had to become an American first before I became a businessman. And that was my motto.